Hi loves, it's Lacey and welcome to our space. So today we are going to be doing some Easter / spring DIYs utilizing Dollar Tree products. So first of all, we are going to start off with one of these little wooden shelves. You get 2 in a pack and we'll be using both of those today. I also have some of their wooded bean garland for Easter time in the orange. You're going to need about 4 of those. And then I have 2 packs of the brass ring forms and some Waverly antique wax that actually came from Walmart, but you can substitute that by mixing some brown paint with some water. I also have a sanding block from Dollar Tree, and we are going to be using that to sand down all of these rough edges. Really, these came out of the pack with a whole bunch of splintered parts, so be very careful and sand them down so you don't get splinters into your fingers. Once we're done with that, we're going to take the Waverly antique wax and we're going to coat this on both sides and all of the edges, wiping it off as we go. So first I'm going to do the top and all the way around all of the sides, and then I'm going to wipe everything down after I get it done on the edges and the tops so you can see the wood grain really well, and it dries faster that way. Also, you could use a heat gun to dry it if it takes too long. Now that that's done and I did both sides of it, we're going to take the largest Wreath forms from this set, 2 of them, and we're going to actually just open them up on the side that they're connected on. If you look around it, you'll see there's a little spot where they're connected, and you can just bend it in half and it should come loose. You might have to bend it more than once, but it'll come loose really easy. Then you're going to take and put one of the sides of the Wreath form through one of the corners, and then put the other side through the diagonal corner. So on the opposite side, but on the back side of it for this one. Like I put the first one in the front and then the second one in the back. And as you see, it makes this kind of balloon shape, and then the bottoms crisscross. We're going to do that on both of our rings and put them both in and through the bottom of this little shelf the same amount. So they're on there the same amount through, and it'll look kind of like this when you get it through, and it makes a balloon shape. We're going to take the second one, break it, and then put that one in, and those will crisscross across the other 2 in another balloon shape, and then they should all come out the same exact amount underneath the bottom. Once you get them underneath the bottom like that and they all come out the same size, it should sit up. It makes like a little stand, so you might have to maneuver it just a little. However, it will sit up by itself. And when you look down on the top of my camera, I have a new camera equipment and a new setup in my very own craft room, and so I don't have the setup perfect yet, but when you look down on mine, it won't look like it's in the middle, but it's in the middle. So make sure all of them crisscross each other and they're out the same length, and this thing should set up. Now if it doesn't set up, you're gonna have to finagle it like I'm doing here by whichever side of the shelf is leaning down further. You need to pull that leg down further on that end to make that side come up some, and vice versa. If it's up too high, then you push that leg up a little and it'll set up. So this is definitely in the middle, but I'm not in the middle of the screen so you can't see. But on the bottom, it makes this little diamond shape. And if you have the diamond shape right, then this should set up. And how you're going to do this is put both of the front legs underneath both of the back legs, and it'll give you a diamond, and it looks like that from the side. And this is in the middle, though it's not straight under my camera, but it looks like a little balloon, right? So this is the shape that we're going for. I put this on, and now I'm bending this top corner there to square it off. Do you see that? I'm going to do that to all of the top corners. It's squared off. So now I'm taking them right back out of the shelf to show you that we're going to cover them with beads. You already know, if you saw the thumbnail, what I'm making. I love how this project turned out. How I cover it with beads now is, since they're already on a garland, I'm just going to slide the reform in through the beads already on the garland. It has some twine in between the beads to hold it as a garland. I'm not taking that out yet. I'm just sliding all the beads on. Once I get them all on this, and I'm going to be using a full garland on each one of these, and then 14 more beads from a second garland on it as well. Or you can cut the tassel off the end and then still string the beads on with the twine still on them, and then push them off of the twine as I'm doing here, and then cutting the twine when it gets too long and stringing more beads on the twine so it goes faster. I really didn't speed up this footage very fast, and this is what you have. So you have one full garland and then 14 more beads on each one of these. So it's going to take 4 garlands to make this project. Then you're going to feed them back in the way that we did it before. I showed you it without the beads so it'd be easier to see and see that it was pretty quick to work with. I like dry fitting my things before I put them together, and so that was a dry fit with no beads. But now when you do it this way, you have to make sure that both sides on the bottom come out the same length. It needs to be even for this thing to sit up. You can still manipulate it and move it around once you get them on, even if it's not perfectly even. And one of the reforms with the beads on it needs to go on top of the other one. As you can see right here, I'm putting them both back in. One will go on top of the other one, and the one that's on the top is going to have a space between the beads, if you can see, so the other beads fit in between it. It's easy. It's really not that hard to do. I'm just trying to make sure that all of my sides are coming out evenly. When they crisscross in the bottom, it's going to make that little diamond, and they will sit up. The top doesn't really make a difference right now, even though I manipulate it each time so I can see that it's kind of in the same spot. It's the bottom you have to worry about. It gets heavier with the beads on it, and so as long as all of the feet look like they're the same height and they're the same distance when they come out, this will sit up fine on its own. If it's in an area, high traffic and things like that in your house, and it's going to get bumped on a table, you want to make sure that this is sturdy, or else it will fall over. Or else I put it somewhere people would not be knocking it over at all. So there it is. It's in the middle, even though it's off from my camera, and it sits up on its own. So now what we're going to do is I want to put beads on the bottom half of this as well, underneath where my stand is. So I'm just going to take off 4 or 5 beads, and I'm going to string them on and push them past where the other rail meets. Does that make sense? I hope it makes sense. These wires at the bottom or part of the reform touch each other, and so you can push the beads past where they touch each other and they will stay. They won't fall off when I pick this up. I'm going to turn it over here to do the other side, and those beads won't fall off because they're stuck, because the little wire, the wire to the reform touches each other. I'm so sorry. I hope you can understand this. I got a whole bunch of noise here, and I hope it's not distracting, but that's what I'm doing. I'm pushing it past where they touch each other, and then it just bounces back at me. It's easy. You can see what I'm doing, and you'll get it if you go to make this to do it yourself. These are going underneath that other wire, and so now I have a point at the bottom. Then I just make sure that I didn't move the little feet that are going to be my stand, and it'll still stand up on its own, and it'll be even. And it does. If yours is lopsided, figure out where it's lopsided out, but I still have my diamond in the bottom and my feet are sticking out. Now, 2 of them are going to be a little bit shorter because one of the loops goes over the other one, but don't worry about it. Just glue all of the bottom beads inside the bead, and I twist it around so the glue gets in there. Hold it, let it dry, and then these beads are not going anywhere. You don't have to worry that they're going to come off. You don't have to worry about any of it. So next I have this greenery. It actually came from Target's Dollar Spot, but I know Dollar Tree has nicer greenery now. I thought this that I already had in my stash looked like the top to a carrot, because if you don't know by now, we're making a carrot. And so I thought this looked really like it, and I had already used some of it, so I'm just taking off some extra stems on here. In the top of the ones that I have bunched together, they were both missing like the exact top part, so I'm going to put on those extra stems there so it's a little taller and make it look a little fuller. And then I'm going to show you how I'm going to connect them together so I can put them on the top of our carrot, because it's a little bit different and you can't really see what I try to do here. I have some Dollar Tree floral wire, and I'm going to take the two sides to make it look the fullest, put them together, cut off a piece of the floral wire and put it around it. But you really couldn't see when I was doing it, so I'm showing you on something as an example. So I have these two pieces. I want them to go together and the stems to go together. I'm going to cut off a little piece of floral wire. Once I get that cut off, I'm going to loop it in between where the leaves are on this. So up higher between where the leaves are, so that you have some of the foliage wrapped in it. I'm going to twist it around like a twist tie on bread, and then wrap it around both of the stems like this, and then twist it back to the small side. What this does is it puts it together and it stays together nicely, but then the edges can be pulled apart like that. So I have a little V. And then I'm going to stick part of the wreath form that's open in the top of the carrot in that little V right there. See? That's what I'm doing. But the angle I had, you couldn't see that in mine. Then you could take some more floral wire and you could twist it around the bottom, but there's no need to do that on the carrot, because since it's going to be facing up, gravity will hold it up, and then I can put hot glue, like I was showing you an example there, to hot glue it to the carrot. So if you look on the top of the orange, even though I'm putting this together, I'm just gluing some extra pieces in there so this will be fuller. I use that entire thing of greenery. On the top of this carrot, you can see there's a piece of wire showing. So when I'm all done with gluing in just extra, because you guys know I'm extra and I want to use all the greenery, I'm sliding down this with the wire in between the two ends. And I realize you can't see that at all in this video. That's why I showed you the example in front of that. And it just stays. So here it is. I have a couple of leaves that kind of fell down and I glued them down like it naturally fell. And then I put glue around it. And that's what it looks like from there. But don't worry about the glue around there. You could glue on some individual leaves to cover it up if you want to leave it just like this, but it's a carrot. And I think it turned out so great. I had to press down on the top too and bend them again to have that flat top look for the carrot, or slightly rounded look, but I love how it turned out. So next, here we are. You know I need a bow. So I have some burlap ribbon. It's not from Dollar Tree, but they do carry it. I just didn't have any in my stash. I also have some of this orange gingham ribbon, which is a lot thinner. And then Dollar Tree this year had ribbon with carrots on it. And I have to tell you, I absolutely love it. And it really was the inspiration for this project. So I am just wrapping the ribbons together. I put down the burlap, then the gingham, then the carrot ribbon, and folded them over several times. Now I'm taking some of that twine that came out of the garlands, because I never waste anything, and I am tying it very tightly around the middle to make a bow. I bent it up in the middle and I made the ties in the back. I double tied it to make sure it wouldn't come apart, and now I'm just pulling loose all of the different loops. I'm going to slow it down here for a second so you can see that all I'm doing is pulling them out, and then all the little thin ribbons, the carrot ribbon and the gingham ribbon, I'm going to pull those forward and I'm going to twist them like I normally do in my bows so they stand out from the burlap ribbon. The burlap ribbon is just kind of a filler in this. Once I get that done, I'm gonna leave it like that. I'm then gonna take one of the carrots that came off of the garland, and I'm gonna remove the twine from it as the hanger and instead put on some more of the carrot ribbon. I absolutely love this carrot ribbon. I only ended up getting one skein of it. That's all I could find. I'm on the hunt for more of it because I think it's going to be so cute for Easter to use in other DIYs. So I'm just folding it over. I know I could tape it to put it through the hole in the carrot, but I'm going to make it as its own loop to tie on to the front of my bow. And I'm just going to loop it around and tie it in the back and then cut it off so I can have some tails hang down from it as well. I'm just going to cut those on the diagonal, but I do turn around and dovetail them in the end. Then I'm going to take and get my carrot back, and I decided that the side that doesn't have any leaves hanging down on it is the front, and this side is the back. I'm going to have mine up against a wall, but you could do this as a centerpiece and put a bow on both sides. But I'm going to put this one on the front. Like I said, you don't need a bow. You could wrap some twine around where your glue is and leave it at that and maybe make a bow out of the twine. But I really wanted a bow on this because I'm so extra, and you guys know this already. And if you're new here, now you know. So I'm just going to take the twine that was already on the back of my bow, and I'm going to double knot it, actually triple knot it I think here, and then put some hot glue on it after I cut off the excess to make sure that it doesn't go anywhere. Then I do dovetail the little ribbons that I have hanging down, the carrot ribbon, and I'm going to take an extra piece of it here then after I did that and just cover up the wire on the back. Just take some hot glue to the back of it and cover up the wire. And then this whole thing is basically done. It turned out way better than I expected, but I had this idea and it worked. It's not difficult to do. The bottom is a little tricky to make it stand up, and it will hold all kinds of things. But since I made this one, let's make another one because I have another shelf. I painted this one white after I sanded it down, and I sanded the corners down to make them less blunt. I'm also going to be using this garland with the little ticks on the bottom and the middle rings to the brass ring set. I'm putting the beads on 2 of the rings the same way I did with the carrot. So if you missed that, back up and you can see what I did there. And I'm using a full set of garland on both of the rings. I do 2 of these. There you go. Here's the second one. I'm going to feed these through the white side. So the white is the top. I didn't do the back side because I realized you're not going to see the bottom of this unless you turn it upside down. So I'm feeding them in one on one corner and then going diagonally and in the back on the other corner. And I'm going to push these all the way in. And I'm going to do this bottom different than the other ones because we are making an egg shape this time, an Easter egg like shape. Now you could do this in all white beads, but I didn't have enough garlands to do all white beads. I had 4 garlands, but just the white beads I still didn't have enough, and I wanted to do the egg anyway. So I am pushing these in, and then once they're in, I'm pushing the curve towards the back. I'm still making my little diamond, but I'm pushing the curve, as you can see, towards the back, not down. This time it's going up. I want it rounded at the bottom. This one's going to be a little more difficult to make sit because it needs to be even on each side and rounded on the bottom, and then it sits. And see how it's rounded on the bottom of it when I tip it over? That's what you need. Now here comes the difficult part. These little wires, I'm pointing at that one. It goes under and then over, and then, well, over and then under. Oh, I have that backwards. They go over and then under the next one, each one. Then you turn it and the next one will go over and then under. And you get this diamond, and they are in there strong. Now I'm going to pop one out. I'm going to take it from under, and it was already over, and we're going to put beads on the bottom. See how it's rounded and they go up? That's what you want. If it naturally wants to round, and since these are smaller, it rounds easy. But now we're going to continue the pattern. It ended with a white. They all ended a white if you use a full strand of beads. So then I'm going to go with the pattern that's there. It's pink, yellow, and then white. They're all going to start like that. But on certain ones, you're going to get 4 beads, and then other ones, you're going to get 5 beads. So I put on as many beads as I can get on, and then put that back under the one where it needs to go under. And that's what that looks like. I hope you guys get this. If you go to make it, I hope it makes sense. You don't have to do it this way. You can not make one go over or under and just put the beads on and glue the beads to the wire. But all I did was follow the pattern and do them all that way. On your last one, it's going to be really hard to move it because all of those beads are going to make it harder. So I got them on as far as I could. And then the last parts, this had to go under, but I couldn't get beads on and push it under. So I pushed it under, then put the bead on it, and then popped it under. And it just goes under there. I hope this makes sense. If it doesn't, don't cross them and just put the beads on and then glue the beads on and then try to cross them. But you want it to be rounded on the underneath. And then once you get them all on, you're going to still have some of the wire shown. So I'm just continuing and putting on some beads. There's no real pattern to this. If it had a yellow and a pink bead next to it, then I added a white, and then I went on with the colors. And it stands up perfectly fine. And as you can see, I got my camera angle better, and you can tell that that worked out. So now I'm going to hold on 2 opposite sides, and as you can see, I'm pushing them together. Just slightly pushing them together until it starts to kind of point in the top. This is shaping it into an egg top. So it's like pointing at the top and coming down to around it. And this is what it looks like. I placed in the ceramic bunnies with the gold in their ears that Dollar Tree had a couple of years ago. And I think they make a really cute decoration. I made an Easter egg. I didn't put anything on top of it. Didn't add any bows. Believe me, I started to. I just didn't really like any of the ribbon that I had. So I took the little chicks then finally, and I hot glued them facing each other to the front and put a little basket that I already had in my stash with some Dollar Tree Easter eggs from last year in there too. Look at how cute this is. I still may put a bow on it, and if I do, I'll post a picture of it over on Instagram because I just didn't have a chance to get out all of my Easter and spring ribbon to do it. But my favorite has to be the carrot. I just think it turned out so well. I have some Dollar Tree Easter cookies in there. Most of my stores don't have these. I just found them at one of the stores that's by me that I never really frequent. And I love how my bow turned out. I love that they had carrot ribbon. How cool is that to go with this? It was my inspiration. I think if I hadn't seen the carrot ribbon, I probably wouldn't have came up with this DIY, but I love it. So you could like serve some food out of it because it does hold those. They are really lightweight, however, but it also looks fine just sitting there by itself. I do put a LED candle in it because you cannot light a real candle in this. It is wooden beads. I would not do that unless it was way down in glass. If it was way down in glass, you could do it. But the bunny even looks really cute in it too. This actually might be my favorite decoration that I put in it. So I want to thank you guys so much for watching, liking, and always sharing my videos. Tell me which one of these DIYs was your favorite. Would you like to see me do something else with these kind of shelves? I did pick up a set of the bigger ones, and actually it's only one shelf in there, but I did pick up 2 of the one longer shelves, and I kind of have an idea for it. Let me know down below if you want to see that. Have you guys used these garlands for any DIYs too? Let me know, and I will catch you in my next video. Bye, loves.